questions, and they were able to get back to us with actual numbers for us to take a look at later. We did discuss the fee schedule, and the 2025 fee schedule is finalized, I believe. There was a healthy amount of conversation about the assessment policy, how to move forward with the assessment policy. And I think the common consensus was that it's past all of our wheelhouses. We need to get some additional help to help us guide that part forward. We talked about Plain Unit Development Ordinance, changing that. We had a Small Pond Meadows update. And then spent a little bit of time talking about the 315 Main Street RFP. That was it.
Got a good question, Dan. And I appreciate the work being done on the assessment policy. I made it real clear when I got on this council that was a mess and we needed to straighten it out. And we needed to be fair to everyone all over because everyone uses the streets, not just the ones living on it. And I think it's very important that we get a more universal policy than what we've done in the past. So I appreciate that. Now, so your committee has said that we need to move forward with staff working on this now, or getting help to make this or make this happen. We need outside help. Is that what you're saying?
It was, if I remember correctly, that was kind of the consensus, because there are so many, depending on size, there's different ways that it can be done, what works best for sustainability and moving forward. There's parts of the assessment policy, like for instance, the sidewalk piece that was implemented in 2019 is in the current one. And what direction and how do we move forward? Because I don't know.
I would like to see it on the May meeting. I think this is very imperative that we work on this fast, just because we do have some assessments that need to be handled here fairly quickly. And I'm surprised Greg isn't beating down the door right now saying, let's get going. So I'd like to see it on the agenda for a decision. And maybe at that time, maybe you have some examples of who we could get to do it. I've got some ideas that I'll be happy to share with you.
It's perfect. Thank you. HRA, Gina and I are on HRA, and I wasn't in attendance of that. Do you have?
I was not there either.
Okay.
I don't
So-
believe any staff was there. I apologize. I don't have updates on that.
Okay. Pass that one, and EDA. Dan, I'll defer to you again for that.
EDA was a very short agenda. Under old business, one of the things we had was one of the loans that we have out. We had maturity date extended, trying to help the local business, childcare business, do some cash flow things so that they can continue to expand and stay open. We discussed two different ones. Sorry, so then we talked about Fawn Meadows briefly from the EDA standpoint and how they may be able to help facilitate future growth through some EDA loan type things. There was a lot of talk about 315 Main Street RFP update and how that's going to move forward. Lots of different ideas and opinions of how the purchase and sale agreements should go. And yeah, it was a pretty short meeting this time.
Perfect. And planning commission. We had planning commission last night. There were 3 public hearings, one for a conditional use permit for some apartments being built, one for changing our solar energy ordinance so they didn't have to, every single time a individual wanted to put solar panels on their roof, they didn't have to go through planning commission. They would just come before council, and then a solar planning review for Pine Tech. There was some discussion about their crosswalk for their upcoming trail that they're looking at. And, some discussions around planned unit development. And speed, traffic, and all route zone. I think that pretty much covers everything that I can think of. Dan, do you have any further follow-up from that?
Pretty right on.
Any further comments on the committee updates? Right, hearing none, we will move on to number 6, fire department updates. Any questions from council for Tom about the fire calls by district? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent items. Any additions or corrections to the consent items?
I have some corrections or questions, I guess, at least for the April 2nd meeting minutes. Under the 315, I believe it was page 4, kind of mid-page, just looking for some clarification, because the meeting minutes seem to reflect that it was a 4-1 vote, and the media seems to reflect that it was a 3-2 vote, so I'm looking for clarification on how you voted on that one.
I was gonna bring that up too. Yes, I did vote, not in favor of moving forward at that time, so my vote would have been, a no vote on that. Agenda item.
I also think that paragraph did a poor job of, I guess, describing the fact that I think that there was a lack of transparency and fairness involved with it, and I would like to see that reflected in the meeting minutes, even though the vote was voted down. Or voted against. Or voted for, I guess, but I was. I would say that. So I would like to see that better articulated in the meeting minutes.
Okay.
Perfect. Should we pull the,
We can remove those and have them added to the next agenda.
perfect. Great. Any further discussion on the consent item? Hearing none, would someone like to make some motions to approve minus the April 2nd?
Sorry, I do.
Oh, sorry.
First, I would like to say thank you to Jordan Billwalk for his service to the fire department. I understand that he's retiring, and it was a very difficult choice, kind of based on his letter, but I really wanted to say thank you to that individual. Never met him personally, but thank you for your service. And I do have a little bit of concern with the hiring of the administrative assistant and how that kind of came to be. I do have some concerns with the process in and of itself. If it was fair, open, honest, and followed our own policy. I have some strong concerns with making that job offer.
What, my question, Dan, is what part of the process are you the most upset about?
It's not upset, it's just more concerned if it followed our policy, if it was a fair, open and honest, candidate search from start to finish. And if we truly did end up with the best candidate or just the best candidate that we wanted.
Well, I got a question from Marcy. On the policy, because we just recently got the updated policy, what policy did you use, the old one or the new one? When you did
The
this?
policy that's approved by council is the one,
The path, okay. That answers it.
I guess based off of our discussion that we had last time, I still do have concerns as to the actual duties, whether or not it's a full-time position. And what I guess the difference in my expectation for duties as opposed to what was proposed by staff for duties at that time. So yeah, I still do have some concerns.
How would we like to proceed with that?
Well, I got a question for Kyle. I mean, I think at a certain point, the council needs to listen to the staff and the administration that we hired. I don't know. I mean, granted, if you have questions that need to be answered, I have a concern with this, with being too much of a micromanager. If we nitpick on everything, I mean, if it's determined that it's a full-time position and we approve it, I mean, it's a vote. Whatever the council votes, that's what we vote. whether we agree with what they're saying or not. I think that's where the micromanaging has to stop, in my estimation, but I understand your point. I mean, I just, I don't agree with you.
Well, the council, previous council had said that that position is gonna spend 8 hours at the fire hall doing job duties at the fire hall. That seemed to have been removed without council approval. That seemed to have been removed by staff. The other comment that was made was that that position is gonna help hang Christmas lights. When, in my mind, that's an administrative position that's in the office. So I mean, if we don't address it here, and we find out later down the road that I have the intention of approving it for certain job duties and it's being used for something else, I mean, what point do we step in and say, hey, we need to have a conversation about this? And maybe it comes down to the fact that the supervisors, the people overseeing those individuals, maybe we need to sit down and have an employee evaluation and see and lay out what our expectations are on what they're doing. Because it seems to be all over the board at this point. I do think that this position is needed. I still have concerns about whether or not it's full-time or what the full duties are. It would have been nice to get maybe a better idea, because I don't want just extra work that other people don't want to be doing added to this plate because it's convenient and the council, or the expectation is that the council is not going to look into it.
Do you have any idea off the top of your head, Marcy, how many jobs have been split up because of this person not being in place?
That's a good question. Currently, the phone is distributed to most all of us in the office. The phone volume is not heavy. It's dependent on the day. It's an unknown variable. I don't think it's overwhelming. I answer the phone regularly. Then we have it set up the front counter. There's a bell. So, because some people do want to have a stamped, that their payment's paid. So they ring the bell, someone comes up who's available.
I mean, but that's just a couple. I mean, is there certain jobs that the?
Yeah, currently we have one staff member who's taking on most all of the park reservations. And we're coming into swimming lessons, which will be starting here very shortly. That is a busy time. And last year was a little easier, even though with the volume was high, we had that grant that allowed for 400 swimming lessons. It was
Free.
yeah, a lot of free lessons through that grant. So there was no receipting. It was just spark them off. Here's another number that's using the grant. This year, we don't have that grant, so there's going to be receipting for every single swimming lesson. That will be time consuming.
So,
But
you know,
it's-
looking at the position, when you look at what was sent to us, you know, it doesn't list a lot of these things that you were just talking about.
It should list being able to do the receipting of, that's on there. It should be, I don't have it,
Wrong spot.
but it
where-
should also have the, taking care of the community room reservations, the park
Okay,
reservations, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the, you know,
Yeah.
what's on the agenda.
And
Looking
it's-
at- I wasn't looking at the original job description. I was looking at this.
Yeah, and if you ask me how much time that takes, it's gonna be different every day, so.
Well, I was just trying to get an idea of what this, and I just followed up on what Kyle said, you know, what is this person gonna be doing? So yeah, okay, I got it.
Do we want to further discuss this and move it to old business, or maybe in consent items? And
Well, we haven't approved the consent items, have we?
No, you have not.
That's what we're working on right now.
Do you need a motion to approve them, or does anybody else have anything to say about this?
I could use a motion. Yep.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent items.
All right, got a motion from Dave. Do I hear a second? That motion fails with lack of a second. What would we like to do? Do we want to move?
I would ask that it be as the old business under 8.7, because I'd like to maybe think on it a little bit and discuss it a little bit more.
Perfect.
Move 7.5.
Yes.
So everything else, we're voting on.
7.1 is gonna get moved to the next council agenda.
Yeah, that one. But
Yep.
that's all we're approving is the register and the,
Yeah, we're gonna try to approve 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.6.
I'll make the motion that we approve 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, and 7.6 for the consented items.
I'll second that.
Motion from Kyle, second from Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, next we will move on to old business, item number 8.1, Ryberg well placement variance.
Tabitha's here for that.
So at the April second council meeting, it was presented to you guys that we're looking to, a variance to approve a well basement. From council meeting, it was suggested or recommended to go to the city's attorney and to the DNR for their approval. And we got received both, and they wanted to do it by resolution, so I provided a resolution for you guys with the city attorney's wording and for approval today.
You said warning? Did you say warning? The attorney's warning?
No, the wording.
Wording, okay.
I got a question for you, Tabitha. When you start looking at how many of these places that we have in Pine City, I did a little checking and we used to have 11, now we got 10. There will be 10. We're gonna go back up the other way. What is our thoughts, you know, as a city? Our goal is to, obviously to hook everybody up, but if we can't do that, this is a mechanism for them to
She had the next one, Melanie.
Sorry, yeah, I was working on that tab for shore developments. Or shore development.
North Shore Development. There. Says no way, fantastic. Do you all know what lean manufacturing? Lean manufacturing, types paste. Just what I know, like I said, this was all short noise, it's 40 hours ago, I remember that just. I couldn't. We need to start studying here, these are the types of ways. I can have her rate stuff out there. I'm just bringing the information here, you know, in this spec, no, other point two with the legal matters. I want the city to start to understand. It's in this statute 318. Business trusts. Property's probably, I already did, and then we reported it because of payment. And the property is set up. It comes with it. Very simple. Small statute. So I'm giving you guys kind of some homework.
Give it to Marcy, right, you can scan some documents and that would. Yeah.
And Marcy, I'm not sure, did Dan or did Matthew contact you from North Shore Development? Have we got an email?
Yeah, in the last day.
Back
Not
in
last,
December. Back in December,
we have had conversations with him, yes.
just recently,
A few weeks ago, we received an email from him.
he contacted the city back in December. Latter half of December,
Mhm.
that's my agent, this is your tip expert,
Yes,
okay? So
We've
you
had-
never come out.
we've had conversations with him. He actually came up here as well.
Well, he did make a purchase, you know, I've had no communication back with him.
Yeah.
And this part of this mean manufacturing, I don't know if you ever heard of value stream map or process maps, information flow. One thing I would like, I don't know who to address, but I've got two addresses that you can contact, one up here in the county and one in Tonka. I'm not always in Tonka, I'm always up here, but I would like to have my contacts at both locations if that's possible. I may not be in the, maybe up here, it's inventory in some. But possible.
I would say unless you have a business card, it'd be nice if we could, before you leave, if we could write down all the contact information. Since we
I
got
don't
them.
have a business card. Sure. Okay, these are the people I'm trying to bring to the table that you had no idea or were aware of. Can you scroll down? Okay, that's Matthew Alexander, he's your tip expert on the right. He should have been here today. I have not talked to him. He has not contacted me that.
Okay.
If you want to, we can all read or whatever. I don't think you want to do that publicly, but can you go to the 3-bar menu at the top, right? We'll scroll back to the top. Or right there, it says portfolio, just click on portfolio. All right. Yeah, these are the products they produce. Like I said, I have not been incommunicado. I don't supply it, was not contacted on some of this stuff, but I got the messages, mailings, you know, things that are last with this work study group and all that. Like I say, I had Matt contact the city, they're back in December.
So for clarification, you're the property owner and the original developer?
No,
Just the property.
okay, this was all fall out from 2000. The design on this started, I think, in 2005. Okay. And then that rate collapsed in 2008, took this whole thing down. No, this thing sat here at the foreclosure, this was when I saw it. At the tax forfeiture for sale. Nobody bid, nobody would buy it, then I come along and assume fee. So my concern was just closing the loop, the micro loop within the development, I know that needs to be done. Now the feasibility study brought to light a huge issue for the state. Well, you guys have seen the feasibility study?
Oh, yeah.
On Meadows,
We had 6,700 foot water line. Didn't see it close. Yeah, I had no idea about that.
I was with, our city planner, Tabitha, when I speak earlier, when I was with, her here, earlier this year, I drove around some properties and yours included. So I apologize.
He's out of Wyzetta, right?
Yes.
Okay, yep. You're talking on the phone. We had a Teams meeting.
Okay, the way it's not bad, yeah, didn't know that.
I do know that, the person we use as our community development, regardless, yep, she had been trying for a long time to get up. So,
I got the website, I brought them back to her.
Okay. yeah, but I think it's been for a while, she's been trying to reach out to you unsuccessfully.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Well, I know she was excited when she got a hold of you, so.
I got those correspondence, one I was
Sure.
concerned about, which was the rezoning. And I kind of got that, I've been communicating basically through Troy. So, Troy and that's the organization, World Trends. Troy, there's already existing paths, all the services, these laws, and you guys are gonna rezone the same thing. I actually tried to purchase years ago, and everything, and everything. I wasn't prepared to building costs a number of years back. So, yeah, I didn't create any of this mess, I just saw an opportunity and seized it. Here it is, here we are today. And it's basically my retirement. And, I have a lot of other matters I'd like to discuss off the record. With the county, I don't know, do all of this, but I almost believe the spotlight that's being shown and growing. I see it as everything, right? So why can't we get like the governor and everybody else up here? I've been to the governor's office, concerning other matters, I used to work with Federal Cartridge. Any of you are aware of the toxic lead exposure that kids have been exposed to, the boys bringing this home. Are you getting good work? Walked out of the company because of this, something like this. And now the state really didn't want to do a whole lot about this, this is back in Governor Dayton. That took 10 years to get that. I mean, I had employees that I was sending, telling them, you guys will get your kids tested because I know you're getting exposed.
I think we're getting a little sidetracked, but at the last council meeting, I believe it was April 2nd meeting, I wanted more legal information because there was some black holes, so to speak, regarding this property. I'm definitely glad you came forward.
Yeah, I had to just proceed at the moment.
Right.
Everybody heard those.
And Greg, I know we had some comments at it last one, but this might change the matter now that we do have the property owners here. And maybe the attorney would have a better legal opinion. I'd like this project to be done correctly, not just stop damage, if that makes sense.
So I'm already at least trying to bring those in.
So they're the developers or?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, if I can hear a lot or I don't know any of what communications have taken place. I'm talking about.
Because the challenge is that if they're unwilling to come to the table, this thing just kind of sits.
He reached out without mentioning you at all. He reached out to us in December, wanting to see what was possible, so.
Who motivated me to sign you on all that?
That was brought last February, it was brought before EDA by a developer in town with an interest in developing Outlaw A, which led to the EDA, the HRA, the city, and the developer sharing the cost of the feasibility analysis for what it would take for Outlaw A. Feasibility analysis was performed, and since then, the developers actually backed out of the project. So now we just have the feasibility analysis, the information, and are trying to make the best decisions within our comprehensive plan and growth plan of
how to move forward with that area.
I told Leslie to have him contact me. No, I would hear from him.
That gets into the actual lot A, and I think there's probably more discussion that could be had with you if you're available in the committees in general. This one gets down into the water loop itself. You're saying that there's no easement in place. Correct. Water, there's no easement in place for the water.
It's received, yeah, see, I can turn that whole development back to my 20.
Yeah.
They had one parcel and set it aside for.
So I think the next question has to be is what's it gonna take to get an easement for you this water line?
That's, I need these guys. Like I said, this water main, from my perspective, has turned this property into me, possibly into real-time shoreline values. It's just,
And I certainly hope for that. I just don't want this to get continuously dragged up because these guys aren't willing to come to the table.
I don't know if they are, it's told me, Matt told me like what's.
Yeah.
So I mean, we shot in December. And everything on my side would come to you. Yeah, let's say we shot with these letters, I wasn't that concerned with them because I thought it was about rezoning 16 final things. That's what. So I really wasn't concerned about. I had no idea that all this redesign and all that was taking place. Like I said, I was contacted as I showed you the letter. August of 2023, I responded to that. Your economic development was going on. And we got contacted. But I have since 1 year ago, I was on a Lakeville with traditions homes that Anabec and had numbers worked up on. So I had no idea that you guys were going with a different plan. It's a waste of my time and money.
Well, in all fairness, Leslie's not here to, for us to ask questions. I'd love to find out what correspondence that she sent out to you and when it was sent out, just so that in my mind, maybe, yeah, she maybe sent it out, maybe you didn't get it. And why didn't you get it, or what mode was it sent out? Was it an email, was it a text, was it a letter? So.
I think we're still waiting for the legal update, so we're not there yet for today. I'd like to invite Mr. Sitter to go back to us. The next meeting, hopefully by May 7th.
Oh, wait.
It would also be nice to find out other than information, if we need a lease that through the developers. Or if we can get a lease that through with Mr. Steinman for that water. Because it seems like these guys are flaky and Mr. Steinman is coming to the table to try and help us with situations. So.
Just be quiet out.
We need to let you know what our alternatives are. If there's a new person, this meeting that doesn't involve them to run, when you come to the table, at least we're directly process. And ours is not being assessment.
I'm sorry.
You don't need to, and then you can send it on. Appreciate it.
Sorry. So, no worries. So my comments were that with the legal update that we're waiting on, hopefully we have that. I'd like to get an idea of the legal representative, if we can work with Mr. Samuel directly, or if we have to work with them regarding the easement. My concern is that they keep dragging it out and they're not willing to work with us. That doesn't do us a lot of good. So I would like to have options if that's what the attorney can provide. Ultimately, the best case scenario would be for them to come to the table, you to come to the table, we all sit down and find something that works. But
Ultimately, I just want to let the parcel go and the whole 20 acres. As I said earlier, I acted as a protector for the city of Pine City, they can try for them piecemeal, I get grocery sacks of offers and stuff every month. Kept everything in one piece for the city's protection.
appreciate it.
Okay.
So
That has been my rule.
for the citizen, for the May 7th meeting, can we invite Mr. Samuel back and hopefully have an update from you?
Yes.
If you'd like to join, that's an evening meeting. Maybe we can get North Shore come in and join us for that meeting if that's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming forward.
Good.
And just to clarify too, that we are an outlaw favor. There's no,
That's what, well, I read the feedback, I kind of gathered, you know, price and everything, it's ridiculous, but I do know the soil conditions are very bad up there, I understand that. I didn't see dewatering for this, foliage. I don't know if that could be part of the process. You know, get this fight through if it goes through.
yeah, I think part of what was gonna happen was there's gonna be some soil boring done to see if it would be best to open trench it or if it was gonna be best to see if we could shoot it in.
Okay.
And that was gonna be part of the
I
next.
just wait till freeze up.
But wait till,
But if I don't know, it's frozen.
yeah, the recommendation was to kind of leave it towards the end of fall to give utility companies a chance to get tacked on into their summer schedule. The dirt will tell us which way it's got to go.
And all the people I've worked with, in fact, I just contacted Geo Contracting yesterday. They were masters at this, their work, and wanted to do super water. Lost my mentor for development in the pandemic, and lost my pilot. They can't get around like they used to. But I'm watching out for the city's best interest. I've protected this for 8 years. Just to make sure they, so,
But yeah, thank you for coming to the meeting today. That's to our attention. Certainly helps, and we have a path to move forward on it, so I certainly appreciate it. Okay.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good number.
Great, next up is 8.4 Civic Center parking lot.
Councilmember has been still gone. I sent council email updating conversation with SCH and forwarded it to you, and Councilmember asked for it to be on the agenda.
I asked this to be put on, I thought it was, the email that came from Greg outlined kind of the situation very well. It seems like we're kind of being taken advantage of with all the stuff that's going on up there. I understand that there's still some private feelings, but it does seem to me like everything was done correctly. And I feel like the council at some point needs to say, we're putting a stop to this because it's, every time we give them something, it just keeps going and it's adding up very fast in a costly manner. And that's tax dollars being used for one project. And I don't agree with that being done on a continuous basis. And unfortunately, I didn't, until it was, the total amount was outlined, I didn't realize how much the city was spending to try and make everybody happy here. But I think it's just time that we need to put this to bed and say we're done with this stuff. That's my opinion.
Well, we might be done with this action, but eventually the parking lot's got to get done. We have a piece of it. I don't see anything wrong with us being part of a group to figure this out, who pays for what. Granted, I think we pay for our share and they pay for their share, but we need to get together as a council with the other parties, which is basically the school district and the civic center. Because they're the two entities that have property there. You know, the civic center through the lease and us and the school district own a big share of it. So that was my whole intention, is just get everybody, that was how I wanted to put it together. Everybody decide who's gonna pay for what, and get it over with. And make a decision and get the work done. And everybody pay their fair share. Previous actions and whatever, in your words, we're expensive and maybe we went overboard in things. I don't think we went overboard. There was ARPA money used and stuff that probably would have been used for something else, but. So I think, just getting everybody together and getting this finished that way is why I don't know what action we would take to put this to bed right now. I guess I maybe clarify that for me. I guess I'm wondering.
The expectation that I feel like is being given to us is that the city goes into Hilltop Civic Center parking lot to repave it at the city's expense for it in its entirety. I'm not necessarily opposed to everybody paying their fair share, but we have paid a significant amount of money and they keep coming back. Both projects and what was done and how the city should be obligated to do this, and I don't think that's right. It seems like everything by the contractor was done correctly, well laid out by Mr. Anderson. On what happened. I'd like to move forward if they want to pave it, that's great, but I don't think the expectation should be that the city's gonna flip the entire bill on this one.
Well, I think until we get together and talk about it, I don't think that's the expectation of anybody. There was a lot of previous history, which everybody's well aware of, you know, that the promises made by previous council members and previous staff members that frankly, it's hard for these guys to forget. I mean, there were just a lot of bad actions taken and it created a lot of bad feelings. I think we've come a long ways and I compliment our administrator for mending a lot of the fences and that's what I tried to do by being a participant and to see the history and try to change it a little bit. And I think we're gaining the trust back of at least this group of civic citizens from Vine City and the surrounding areas, because a lot of these people don't live in town, but they put a lot of effort into it. So I agree with, you know, letting it go to rest. I mean, the only rest is we need to get together and figure out what's going to happen here. We agreed to be a participant, and I did personally agree to be a participant because I'm on the Hilltop Committee, I'm on the Civic Center Board, and I'm on the council. So, you know, let's get together, let's talk about this, let's see what's gonna happen, and I think that'll put it to bed faster than this, us taking an action, because I don't think on this topic on the agenda that's calling for an action, is it, or is it calling for an action?
It's not coming down for an action, it's just, I keep seeing these emails go back and forth, and it keeps coming up at Public Works. And if the organizations that are involved want this done, they should go out, they should get pricing, they should bring the information back to the city, and the city should have a discussion at that point. We have invested a significant amount of money, and I'm sure that we're still always gonna be investing a significant amount of money in the future. But right now, it kind of feels like we're being taken advantage of, in my opinion, just with what was outlined in that email. At this point, I'm not opposed to listening to what they have to say, but I want them to collect the information and bring it back to us. I don't think that we should be paying for studies or assessments or that sort of thing. So,
Well, I think the action has already started. I mean, our administrator made contact with the head of each one of those organizations, including Hilltop, the presidents of all these, and the school board and that. And if that was the initial contact, just to try to break the ice, let's have the head people meet each other and decide at that point, which I think Marcy can maybe allude a little bit what the next steps are. She's got them figured out yet, but that was where we started at, and of course with everything else going on and all the other issues we had, well, you know, it was just still there. And granted, they don't want to let it lie. The organizations that think that we owe them all this, you know, they aren't letting it lie. So, you know, we have to move on too. And I think she's made the effort to do that. So I'm in favor of just letting the process go on like it's going. And we deal with it at that point when the vote comes back to us at the council here, what we're going to pay for, then everybody here will have a chance to say yea or nay.
but from my perspective, these conversations have been going on for a number of years. And the conversation always comes back to it's the city, it's the city, it's the city, it's the city, the city needs to pay, the city said they were going to pay, the city needs to pay. And there's never any budge or willingness to move off of the line the city needs to pay for. Somebody said once upon a time that there's a lot of accusation that parking lot never gets used except for by when the warming house is open, which is not true, correct? Because that parking lot is always full with cars, even when the warming house is open. So there are people that are using, even the rest of the parking lot's empty, that part of the parking lot is. So for me, I really struggle with because we've had a lot of conversations, we've taken a lot of time from staff and even the meeting that we tried to set up with heads wasn't respected with the people that were invited. They brought extra attendees when they were even asked not to bring extra attendees. So this just keeps going around and around and around and around. And
I think the other thing is that the promises that were made by the individuals who are no longer with the city, whether they were employees or whether they were council members, they're gone. And we've made it a point to move away from a lot of their points. And we've even said that a lot of the things that they've done are not in the city's best interest. And those were single individuals. They never had a ruling on a council promising anything. And so to say that they were promised something in the past, they were promised something by an individual who's no longer with us, that we already named, probably should have been making those decisions. So I think it needs to be said publicly that that those promises don't exist. If they want to find a solution to move forward and get this paved, then they need to bring that information to us. Mr. Sponson's point, they need to come to us as a partnership, not as with the expectation that the city is going to pay for it.
I think that's what we're trying to do. That's my opinion. I don't know if you got something to add?
We left the meeting, with hearing, more of their thoughts on the parking lot. And I had already spoken with Greg multiple times actually regarding this, and I said, I'll go back now that I've heard all of their side. I went back to Greg one more time and just, explaining this when he sent out the detail, which I forwarded to you. So we left that meeting with the knowledge that I was gonna do one more dig and we were gonna meet again. That's where we're at. We don't have any plan to meet.
So there is an intention to
Yeah.
meet against them.
And they,
And that would put it to rest if we give them a final decision, or you give them a final decision. So you would come back with that decision to us before you go to that meeting, or to find out what our feelings are, or what
I
is
don't
that
really have
necessary?
what your feelings are as a group.
Okay.
So I don't know how I would present that to them.
Okay. Sounds like an idea.
I guess my expectation is that if they want something, they need to come up with the pricing on it and what the proportions are and what their expectations are from the city. And then we go.
per the email that was sent out, it was returned to a state that it was found in, and I don't think that we should be on the hook for a single solitary penny. Like we've said, in that entirety of the project, we went above and beyond many times. I was on council then, was here listening, but it was 50,000 here, 25,000 here, another 15 concrete here, 25,000 for curb and gutter here. And at no point was the parking lot ever really mentioned until it was an afterthought. Throw top course on it, graded out and compacted, all good. Why does it have to be blacktop? Was it blacktop before?
I would like to say thank you, Greg. I thought it was a very well done email. They articulated the whole process very well, so I appreciate that.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8.5, update on fire truck number 18.
Mayor and council, the only update back on this after the council had accepted offer from Brook Park, I did let reach out to Wayne Whited and he did and then Marcy had let me know that in January, they first did reached out to get
And actually, advice they could have council approved. So, and then I've been away, so I need to find out if we actually got the invoice made. Otherwise, if we didn't, we'll get another day and get that off to Brook Park.
Where is this truck?
things forward and forward first.
It's been about a month and a half, 2 months since we made this special deal to the benefit of an organization. I mean, I'm kind of at the point where I think this should just go out in bids because we have special meetings all the time, we're getting stuff done. that could have been done by Bird Park. I'm kind of disappointed with all this, that's all played out. The fact that this is taking up space in public works, it was taking up space at the fire hall for a significant amount of time. That offer was made. In my opinion, they should have been able to walk out the door the day that the council approved it. This should not still be a problem. This should not still be our possession. And I'm honestly at the point where I think that we should just deny it and put it on amendment.
No, I was notified by Emory, it was late, just before our ordinance meeting in April. So, it has to be invoiced for the percent, I was for council meeting day, it was the 7th. But I had gotten my voicemail minutes before that ordinance, so I didn't have time to get it. So then, and then I can't heard, I then went away, so,
The part I struggle with is that the software was made by a fire chief in March 16th. And then he needs to take it back to the council for approval on the offer that we make him. Either when we give Tom the ability to go out and do things, we give him the ability to go out. We don't wait for something to come back. And so it seems like it was poorly executed. I don't know if it was to tie up a opportunity because that's how it went down in the fire committee meeting. And maybe there was some benefit there, but this is a long time. And I don't agree with the fact that we should be storing this. If they made an offer, we try to make a deal to work with them, and this is still get trouble.
When is their next council meeting?
it's April 7th, so I would assume the first Monday of the month, which means the next one would be.
Next month. Good month.
Yeah, the pay would be a meeting that would be approved.
I can see your concern, Kyle. I just,
I do know once they have the invoice, they were gonna, well, that's something, because they need to have it approved by council, so it'd be approved on.
yeah, I don't think that's, I would say if it doesn't get done the 5th, then I agree with you. Otherwise, let's just let it go the course. We have a good mutual aid friend. I think we realize that as well as I. I want to make this work for him, so I'm all in favor. Let him go the 5th. But after that, you have your right to go to amend it. They don't approve it.
I think this shows pretty bad taste stuff. We have a mutual aid partner that breaks their feet. This should have been done. They should have had the invoice. They should have had all their ducks in a row. There's no reason that they should have been doing all this.
Yeah, I feel like we dropped the ball. So.
Nicole's good.
I was just gonna say what she said, that's kind of in our ballpark, because I wouldn't pay something if I didn't have an invoice to pay.
So we called me on voicemail on April 7th, they got the, and then.
When people send you an offer letter, did they ever include what they did or make it work?
Say either. They haven't at all showed up.
So is this something that should have probably been included when they first made the offer? We can take the blame all we want, but at the end of the day, Brook Park dropped the ball here. So if May 5th is the deadline, then May 5th is the deadline. And I think that needs to be communicated very clearly. So
With the invoice.
Yeah, and I can make sure that if it hasn't been done, it'll be done.
Thank you.
I do.
All right, next, 8.6, Parks, Parks and Rec.
Council fair. We'll be assuming that. I was told the 20th. Well, they were thinking,
Where's the bureau located?
kind of clear and all.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, we're going to kind of talk, there's apparently a shortage of old pulpits on the side of the fairgrounds where you might have to get something
Run.
to at least in that area. Sad. I guess my biggest point is I wanted just an update to see where that we're gonna have enough time to be able to store everything since the end of the month is quickly approaching. So, yes, well,
The summer staff will be here.
What kind of a locking system are you gonna have on this? I guess that's like
I just get a 4-pack of those.
the right, all key the same.
Do we have cameras on that side of the building? There is one.
There, if Rock has one, we can figure out exactly where it's going. And then, if it goes where I had brought for talking yesterday, it actually will be in the view of, 3 different cameras.
Thanks, Brian. All right, I think it's time, would be 8:47, the action systems. This was follow. Send agenda item.
So, again, the position is needed. We have a lot of concerns. Are they gonna be staying at Hilltop doing their work? Is the final decision for what the council set down as doing industrial work in the fire hall off the table completely moving forward? Or are we gonna outline this position so that they're not taking Christmas lights?
And that is not in the job description. So, and to be fair too, there's times when we all step up and do things that are nowhere anywhere in our job descriptions. So it's something when we pull together as a team, and I think we've created a great team where we want to have everyone to see each of their jobs. So I don't doubt that for a second. I do think the job description is plenty to they do when they have to work. And I do know it's honestly for help, and that's personally based for as well. I don't know off the top of my head that's in the job description we posted. It is.
There's fire billing and then the retention. I mean,
Yeah.
it's citywide retention.
So that is, I just want to be sure that when they do is what they're told they're reviewing, not to extra work that's, you know, like cleaning the fire hall. And instead it's adding, we want to make sure that's the job.
So, excuse me, that was just said retention. Are you talking records retention? Okay, so that would be part of that position. Now, would that position also deal with the stuff we've got in storage now because it came out of this place? You know, it would be tasked with that. Well, there's a hell of a job there.
Yeah, it's kind of like take what you can, and we also have a shutter, our own shutter now, instead of spending, starting paying for itself, so.
You know, I think another thing, that bothers me a little bit is we talked about in the past as a council about our personnel committee we used to have. We don't have that apparently. I mean, it never was acknowledged. I mean, before it was, what was it called before? Executive committee, yeah. But the executive committee had to be an open meeting where a personnel committee could be a closed meeting. I really like the idea of having a personnel committee. Otherwise, you know what we're doing? We're doing just what we're doing here right now. We're debating stuff that we should be able to turn over to our administrator and our staff and with some oversight by a personnel committee. And if they think something bad, then bring that to the council. You know, that's a little bit of micromanagement, but it's a lot smaller than 5 people. So,
Well, the staff are recommending approval of this. Mr. Swanson's point, there might have been some discrepancies on transparency and fairness. And to my concern, I'm not sure if this is a $4 week job. And it seems like at some point duties were taken away that the council had previously said were ordered. That was ordered by staff. So my question is why is staff overruling council decisions? I mean, you want to give this all back to the staff to do, but you're moving away with it.
I think staff members overruled, if you're talking about Tabitha going to the fire hall. I know I've always supported, if she had paperwork to do, that it would be brought to her, that she would go there for a whole day. And we were already short 2 people in our office, and we were making do. And, but for her to go there physically with the paperwork had been brought to her, I never shut the door on that.
That was the council action to order that to go to the fire hall for records retention.
And we made do while we were understaffed, you know.
I did. I don't know what word that was, fire meeting.
It was.
It was prior, and I'm not saying I don't, we need to stand behind what was done in the past. I mean, I'd really like to look at that, or at least to see what it even, how it was even worded, I mean,
A lot of it goes back to all the data requests that were coming in, and given the discussions with the fire district, my guess is that there's gonna be a significant amount of data requests that start coming. So,
And Staff City Hall was still handling those data requests. So.
second question. Why couldn't we, again, why couldn't we make this a temporary position like we've talked about in the past? Why is it all of a sudden so important to hire this position right now, this person right now? That's we're talking about it for a few months, and there's other options available to us. We had an emergency meeting on the 11th to talk about IT and ASAP. And the council package came out, and there was an additional offer with a start date of the 28th. Just a little confused as how that all played out, because there was asked for more information from both positions, what we might be able to do. And how did we get to this person? How did we get to the final 3 second interview candidates that were brought in? Was it done consistently with every single applicant? Because I just have a lot of concerns with the process of how we got from A to job.
A little bit of the IT side of things, Dan. I think Mercy was out when I was out for that last week. We had been getting together, working through, trying to find some other, get some quotes from other vendors. I'll point that down a little bit more. So that.
And the process is something that's been consistent. We had, again, if you take all applicants was overnight. If you take what was completed and then follow directions for what we required for their applicant, that had happened. So from there, we had 40-ish applications and went through them. And we had staff of 4. We went through, we had a little sticker that was placed, and we did not agree at all, because it is an opinion. It's an opinion of who you think is qualified. And then we have to remember that it's a piece of paper. And right off the bat, there was one applicant that we all put against interview. And that investigation was not, it was lies, and we made calls to verify what was on. So the paper is not true. Then from there, we made a decision on who we thought had the most qualifications for the position we posted. And from there, we made the interviews with just myself and HR. And then from there, we decided on who would be brought back. So again, it's really all opinion based, if you think about it, because it's like, who do we think is the best? And then in the interviewing, what was really critical is, are they a good fit for the job work, but also are they a good fit for the personality and the team we have been building for the last year? And that's very critical in my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. And if you want to change how we do this process, that's fine. But this is what we've done, and I feel solid about it.
How many external hires have we had? Other than this?
No.
Since when?
Quite a few actually from staff.
Maury's had 2, 3. Something like that.
Well, I turn around, look back, and there's only one person that has been that whole team entire time, it's Laura. They're all.
I was an external.
They're all external.
I was an external hire.
No, I meant external hires with the policy that's.
I'm like, I'm still.
It was
Last.
still the same policy.
Done that way. I had 2 interviews
800 people each time.
I did not. I had one interview.
I only had one too, but I think there was only 2 or 3 applicants when I applied to work for the city.
I believe I.
I guess at some point you guys were hired in, and then you were hired from the position that you're in. So is that the,
And then promoted.
yeah. So technically, Mr. Swanson's right. There hasn't been too many just straight out of the box in that position, although the position itself is the position that they all got hired in extremely from. Not Nicole. You know, there's that starting tier where they started from, so. I don't know.
It's the same process for public works. I think when we posted that position, we posted it, it's union, we posted it internally for the 10 days, was it? And then posted it publicly. We had 18 seriously solid applications, and we interviewed quite a few of them and really liked most all of them.
We struggled with.
So it was, yeah. And again, it comes back to, do we trust us to make a choice? That's,
Well, I think we always have overview I guess
the policy states though that if it's an department, and we would definitely want more involvement with council, the department head.
right.
Maury's, position was entry level. Our admin assistant is the very entry level of city hall. And the person we're bringing forward has years of experience and is going to be able to walk in. Oh, actually, we had our accounting clerk is external there as well, but we did all the same procedure. We posted it internally, we posted externally everywhere. So the line be determined.
With this being a union position, does the council have the right to be able to do a 6-month review on the position or?
What's the biggest concern? I mean,
Well, I think he's concerned that it's not going to be actually a full-time job after summer, spring and summer with all the parks and rentals. Is it going to be really a full-time position? I think that's a valid question.
It's a full-time position. At some point, the record retention stuff for all the backlog is gonna run out. It could take 3 years to get there, but at some point it's gonna run. I don't know if it's a full-time job. I don't know if people are just gonna come up with job duties that they don't want to do and just hand it off on the city. I mean, yes, that's kind of their job is to do all the little extras. But just the way that it's laid out, it seems almost like people are trying to get this position hired so that they can put duties that they don't want to perform.
Well, because currently people are doing jobs that aren't there in their conservation ones.
I think the biggest thing we got going here is record retention. A lot of this stuff is supposed to be taken care of, and it should have been taken care of a long time ago. I mean, it started when I was still there, and that needs to be completed. You made the point, he's probably got 2 or 3 years. I bet that you have 2 or 3 years without any trouble at all. So, you know, and second of all, I always feel all of us on the council visit the office at some point in time or any one of the departments. We see what's going on. If I see somebody stand there, texting, I know they are, well, they could be working. But if I see them not doing anything or reading the paper, well, I'm really concerned. And if I see that more than once, I mean, when I go into, I don't care, and I'm not picking on Laura, but I go into liquor stores, don't they think I know that what they're doing? I mean, if they're all sitting there watching TV, which I'm not saying half, I'm just saying, if I seen that, I would bring that to her attention saying, you know, while you're helping 7 o'clock, wasn't doing anything. So we all have eyes, we all have voices, we can express our concerns, we all go in and talk to Marcy at some point, either on the phone or in person, and give her our concerns. I have what I call affectionately my Marcy list. And I keep that, and that's constant, and it's pain, you know. The bottom line is we all have that. So I think we have a mechanism in place myself to prevent this. Yeah, I don't get gold started.
I will make a motion that we approve this with that, with the understanding that in 6 months, this position will be reviewed by the entire council.
July earlier. It's going to be, you know, I mean, it's
6 months.
Yeah.
6 months, but they're full council. At that time, I wanted to have a list of other job duties that this individual working on.
I'll second.
Now, we're gonna tell the new hire that the job she's being hired for.
No. Well,
But we should be upfront if that's what we're looking
the letters barely say them that you are.
at.
And it's asked in that person's response.
And if our will is to go working hours, 20 hours, and
That's, I mean, you can have it. I would say, but they're not stays. So we would move that.
I think it's good. But, these elements.
Can you clarify? I have listened.
hire.
Further discussion.
I did ask some questions, so I guess I'm agreeing with Marcy that said, so you're gonna review the position and possibly promote that person to a part-time position after 6 months if there's not enough work.
Yes.
Wouldn't I job, take my job.
I don't know if that's what I didn't understand what you were saying. I thought that's what we do now anyway. When we review someone, if the person's doing a poor performance or we find that it's not needed, we're gonna cut the position anyway. Well, we aren't gonna tell them that. I don't think anybody, I don't know if there's a job in this whole city where everybody's guaranteed that they're gonna be here tomorrow. I mean, that's impossible.
I totally agree with that, but to the point of doing a good job and cutting the position part-time because the there's not enough work. I just think you're open, in my eyes, opening a lawsuit.
I don't agree with that statement.
You know, especially about letting the person know that you're offering a position to that.
I don't think that's what we're doing, Mark. I really don't think that's what we're doing. He's just bringing to light that I understood that you just want to make sure that we do have it right if we decide it isn't worth it at 6 months. But we have that right under.
Sure, what I have is that we have this kind of general ideas of what this time is, partial reservations, this robot reservations, record retention, possibly some milling. There's a lot of possibilities and slide is out there, which is that I have to $40 a week. I don't know.
I know, I totally agree with that.
If we get to 6 months and they say, yeah, I just kind of sit here and I'm filling out paper clips and sometimes I talk to individuals and make copy and stuff, I'm gonna ask some questions over that. Go ahead.
We have lots of filing and scanning that needs to be done. You guys, I mean, 3 years worth, I guarantee she's gonna have lots of time, lots of stuff to do.
It's at the point of 6 months, it should be, yeah, most of my time is spent doing record retention, filing and scanning right now, no one praised me, we said, great, this was a great. Yeah, but if we get to that point, if they say that they're trying to come up with ideas. I mean, do we sit there, allow to sit there at the desk and come up with a bunch of ideas to pass the vision for $40?
I know she's gonna be full-time, so I mean, there's plenty of work for her.
Isn't that why we have an administrator? Isn't that why we have Marcy sitting there or somebody else in position? Because she should be looking out for us too. We shouldn't have to be the ones going in there finding somebody twiddling their thumbs.
I'm sure that those that know me, I am frugal, and if I see ways to my home. I agree, it's a full-time position, I will be the first person to say, this needs to be adjusted.
I don't, it should be a problem in 6 months. If you're saying like, what you're saying, there's a ton of work out there, then there's not gonna worry about. Right. I still want to review it.
We would anyway.
Technically, Marcy should be.
It's just part of the process. I don't think we need, I don't like it, and I agree with Maureen. I don't think we should be putting that stipulation on every employment that we have. That'd be horrible. I wouldn't take the darn job, I guarantee you.
I think going forward, we should have this.
Well, okay, I'll courteously agree to disagree. I don't disagree.
But
But I think that's why we have.
there is a role in duties in the League of Minnesota Cities where the city administrator is the one who brings this to you guys for approval. just to you guys for approval. You guys shouldn't be involved in all the other stuff until it's brought for approval.
And you're really true on what you just said. I agree with that to a point. But we're Pine City, and Pine City's a $3,700 population. Or 3,700 people population. And we don't have 6 people doing every job. We have 1 person doing every job most of the time. Sometimes they're doing several jobs. So, you know, the bottom line is the council has to be a little more active on some stuff. Do we need to be restrictive and hold back on them? Yeah, we should. But sometimes it's too easy to stick your nose in. And it has for a reason, because things aren't getting done in our estimation. Where you deal with cities, a lot bigger cities and stuff, they have 7 or 8, 10 people doing the same division job. There's city park and rec departments that make us look like nothing. They just have more people doing that than we have in our whole city. But, so when you get into smaller cities, you have to, sometimes councils aren't going to be a little more nose, sticking their noses in. So, but I agree with you.
They go on, we say that was the deeper state statute. Biggest interpretations of the statute, we are not wrong.
Yeah. But the city has had quite a bit of turnover too in staff, and maybe that's used to.
Yes, come on, I'm hoping the history better than this.
I think the other, I think not taken into consideration is that 6 months, they can say, now I'm so overworked, I need help, I need more employees to help me out. And that would also be critical for me. Say, well, they need employee. Each one of you can sit there thinking, I have so much work right now, it's really nice to have somebody that can come in here part-time with more time to help employee. I need to know that so that I can touch it for and stop it.
All right, so we've got a motion for, to accept the position of 6 months per year. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the statement by Mrs. Stein. Opposed? Aye. Motion carried. All right, we have to discuss, request for council action, speed road removal and relocation.
The last fall, we were a lot of together. Enclosure, very big. Go ahead and receive 3 minutes for the one was they were proceeding from the state. And I came to the state. The finance for where it has it. But it's very good. Doesn't there work anything anymore? So we see this bid, skipper, then get in. Here. See. Robert. See ground. Words. So this is around.
Did you, resident groups curious, because I saw on the agenda, how, do we have any plans of relocating a skating park? Or is it just to take it away and not replace it in any location? Great, okay, so they would want to
Receive from footballs along the same. Where are we supposed to skate? No, they couldn't skate.
Also,
could if I skate out somewhere else, it's but he's fine to do over skate, just to leave over, because it's somewhere else. I think he was something away and had to spend $30,000 for next game.
What shape is the pin? Well, last time I seen that it had a panel taken off and the guy was living in it. So Yeah. He had a really nice 2-room apartment. I was impressed. He had his own, Bunsen burner and heaters and he had everything set up. It was really kind of amazing. Yeah. So we emptied it that day and nobody ever come forward and said, where's my stuff?
Problem with that location, singularly, grabs things. But not good things, right? Would be nice to get more use out of it. Feel like that kind of thing is not really, it's really sliding down. That's about it, but don't see a lot of skaters. I don't know if that's because it's in.
I honestly don't see a lot of skateboarders around the town like I used to either. I mean, it was always a problem with them sliding down the railings at St. Mary's and a few other places around town. They could slide down the railing. I'm stupid. I think that's what has changed on us, is a lot of that. I just don't even, you used to see skateboarders going down, coming from the school downhill, but that was always a good spot for them to go. Now they ride electric bikes at about 45 miles.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think we have room out by the water tower for another little fire. And let it come to some group that maybe propose it and come up. I think this facility is probably going to cycle. The biggest word anything.
Is the city gonna allow, skateboarding or rollerblading at the basketball court if people were to ask?
So I had the, or the citizens, you know, this, skateboards.
But it's the borders.
Not sure what the red young skateboard that area. Going up skateboarding, it's because I have a pipe up there and some rails and stuff. Maybe better up one built on, you know, there's some stuff. That little bit area. To Dave's point, I do think it's grand stores, it might be better to for it. I don't think that it's overly expensive in the future. It's, there's probably some grants for donation like that. It's requested to go from that, and I do agree to find a place that said it's probably, there's things in that area that are going on that you mess things up a little bit.
If the access to it was so easy for people that wanted to get away with stuff, they're supposed to, they come in behind 7th. But you see the kid it out, that's why that guy, nobody ever knew he was there, that's how he did.
One of the concerns that I had with the bids is that, in my opinion, equal bids. I believe that 2 of the bids are in more detail of what we would be paying for in terms of conditions to go along with the work. And one is just a dollar amount that they're getting donated skate park equipment and everything. Even though the other 2 bids be affected if they were getting the skate park equipment to take away, one way or the other. It's the only concern that I have against this house. I'm headed for the respectful council.
So we're allowing department head to pay everything. We spoke yesterday.
Yeah, he put a request for post action on here, and it states when he was.
I think our history with our department head, we had a lot of trust in him. He's earned it, but he could lose it. But I really strongly feel that he could figure this out. If there's a more of a description of Council Swanson that he needs, I would be happy to ask him, if this isn't thorough enough, whatever the bid, why can't we go back and ask for a clarification on it? If it's needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what
Well, one of the bids has a price because they're keeping the skate park equipment. The other two bids don't have anything about the skate park. So are they taking it? Do we have to pay to dispose of it? Are we keeping it? And would the other bid be effective if they weren't keeping the skate park equipment? Which there's also no terms in that bid of anything as far as overruns or like. To me, they're just not, they're not equal bids. One has 2 sentences and 2 have. The other has the other, each has a bid section, we can not stay with. I say that before I take that here process, valuable and having the street part, or second and go ahead and purpose. So he does that all the time, trading old things to add value to the next project, so. Yeah, motion here.
I make a motion that we just put that in. And with the clarification that Mr. Swanson is required, in order, we'd like to see, if we can get some more clarification, that'd be great. But I don't think we can stop what you're doing, so I make a motion that we accept. Both. Yeah, we're.
Okay, right here, stop. I'll second it. Second.
Well, should I move forward from around to you?
Well, it's basically whatever information, who's taking the skate park, who's gonna be, doesn't have a value. I don't think it has.
Your property is taking it, I think in Mary's eyes, they see it on continuing the school park or the man use for it. So Mr. Swanson's point, the other 2 bids didn't have that included, and do they see the value in taking it and later, is that it add cost to the bids? It is interesting that it was included in one bid and not in other bids, but I could have been that from there at this time was asking Rock, hey, we have this, we're gonna grab it, I would like to take it.
Did anybody else ask that?
No, I mean, it's either that or we take it out in the store.
Got quite a story to us.
Sure.
I think what we're talking about is the nest. I mean, I think it doesn't mean
I think you did like, and vision was with the great farm, so it's favoring that. These actions.
what would we have them see?
We have that. But there was one that was 15,592, so the premier was valuing the skate park equipment between $1,500 to $2,000 for their bids. But their bid had been 16,000. That's where for me, I'm having a problem with bids because I understand what you're saying, it's like, do they have a value in it? Did they bid 14,000 because they've got a certain value to that? And the other 2 have. And the second, they would also see it as a way that I'll try to get in market for food and value. If you have gone to the owner of the company, it's a branch out or not a shading, so it's a showing to the there's a second company, I'm not having to show that it's just something that had more dollars. I think the first bid probably came up with a good way to be first one in.
We have a motion to second.
Yeah, today was second 35, I'm assuming approved, those bid. This is something that I asked to have on as we begin this budget for 2026. And as council and as planning commission and the work that we do, oftentimes we issue variances altering makeups of neighborhoods, populations, densities, things like that. Require us to go back and look at what have we done to the impacts of these neighborhoods. One thing that I keep hearing about is speed in certain parts of town and traffic in all routes. We've been discussing it since well over the year and a half. I just wanted to get it back on the radar in budget, because all this stuff will take money. What kinds of things, what kinds of areas we want to look at, science game review. But it's just a great thought. That's it. Appreciate that, Mr. Johnson. Yeah, and hopefully from that too, will lead into some more conversations where the city and the county public works can get together to impact some of these things. That they don't have direct control over, to help impact the city. And just for me, at the last, it's really keen. It's been on my list for some time, but the last Chamber of Commerce meeting, Arrowhead Transport did a good survey, rural transport and what they provide people that were surveyed inside the city of Pine City. 35% of the people that live inside city limits, their main mode of transportation is walking. Not mobility chairs, not that it was just walking. So to me, I feel the demographics of our town are changing. We need to keep that in mind. But it costs me. But I think to start talking to people about what we can do in areas of impact.
All the time. And I was at last night because my neighbor agenda items. And we did talk about it, and I've heard this from constituents that they don't like it, the trucks are driving through their neighborhood, they don't like this, they don't like that, and I don't like it either. I think a lot of it's done for reasons of it's convenient, it's easy for the trucks to go from one part of town to the other if they have 2 or 3 stops. And also the concern with a lot of the bigger trucks on the stoplight corner up in the bank, I call it bank corner. They can't, you only got a 50-foot, 3-foot semi with a long tractor. And I've driven plenty of semis in my lifetime. You cannot make that corner. I've been there, but I don't think you can do a trick to get you around there without having people back up or wait for you and stuff. So that's why a lot of them will take easy routes through town because they don't want to have to deal with that. But, you know, they're gonna have to figure it out, or we gotta figure out our lanes and stuff to make it work for them. But I think, yeah, I'd like to see a public hearing and to see what the public thinks about this as far as, you know, have another agenda and talk about it prior to budget or finishing our budget. We can put it into the budget. What money that might be necessary to do some signage for truck around all that enforcement actions and stuff. So I think it should be.
And for the legislature, in the city limits proper, we have the ability to change speed limits and traffic study.
I mean, we're hearing a lot of concern, especially when it starts to like we find Kent Street and stuff. You know, people want to stop sign. Well, we know stop signs aren't the only answer to all the administrative problems. And we need to change habits. I mean, everybody can sit at some of these intersections and watch these people. They don't even hesitate to just drive. And until we deal with the enforcement action and deal with our we're paying for, we need to maybe concentrate on some of this stuff and forcibly change their habits. And it's pretty rampant in consideration. And if the people would have something to say about it, it would be a good conversation. And we probably hear about areas we didn't know were problems that people are seeing. So I could see that.
You know, other things that I've people talk to me about on the north end of town, Timmy Pines, Early Childhood Academy, and Swan Meadows. They're very disconnected from the rest of the city. There isn't any real safe places for people to walk. That little frontage road, people at Timber Pines can find all the time. We want to go to the dogs. To walk down 61 because people are living, and we're afraid to walk in the front of the road because people are living.
We're also protected. I think my bike lane will work in a lot of cases because it's stripes and it's signs. And I travel a lot around the Metro area for different things. And
South St. Paul, I have a daughter that lives there and her family. I'll tell you what, it works for them down there. It's all these lanes and forgetting about all these, you know, sidewalks are nice, but they're awful expensive.
It's so wide too. Have we got?
We could put a bike lane in a lot of places. It's not a fair Mr. Anderson, but I agree with that. I can say there are lots of people. Oh, they use that one up at the cemetery, you know, but that's one in town and everything. Really up there, take on grapes, taking grapes there, always something they can. I see the 10th Street where the plane is now they use it, it says, you should get it. So it's well used. I think it works, I think it will work. And for me, for all routes that they know that we're gonna have a really bad dump truck season this year. There's still a lot of projects going on all sides. So potentially identifying roles for dump trucks. It's beneficial, I'm sure. I need a lot of person. It needs to do that.
That is not until 30. So.
I don't think I'm always doing it. So I think I would agree with these. I would be mistaken. I'm trying, moving on to without having like one year day revenue expense report. For budget review, bring on for one.
There, this community council. Any questions or concerns?
One thing we did not budget for with that. 15 expenses. Will be. Will it? The more we found on more. Services.
Was there any money or items that was anything allocated for the facility? You guys are in stuff. So was that something that? Next up, there's the very it's on my mind. Next up would be administration. I'd have under 5032 postage. We're at 5,000 per year and it's 1,000 over this already. So any first quarter. Still gonna be good. On that number.
We met is for the year.
$1,000, it's really.
1,000 is every 6 months. We fill our postage meter.
So it'll be 2,000 total now. Thank you very much. Insurance. Budget 31,600, we paid 24,900 already. Is that the yearly payment or is there gonna be another substantial insurance review there?
Yeah. It's here.
That's it, that's the annual payment.
Yeah.
And then using subscriptions. Is that all you audits as well, or do you have more using subscriptions?
I can tell you what has come out for dues and subscriptions. So I don't know if there's any others that are coming out for the year, but I know that we have the MCMA Secretariat. There was the League of Minnesota Cities membership. That's based on our population. That took up a majority of our budget, $4,774 just for that. And there was my membership with the Minnesota GFOA for $70. And then verified credentials are 6210. I'm not sure if that's an annual thing or is, okay. I'm not sure what else's memberships are due this year for admin. So you'll have some $50.
You just touch upon rentals. What do you mean by rentals? What do you bring this up against the administration? Thanks, Brad.
That is for the Culligan, when we were renting out the machines, about the refillables. I know now we still have the whatever little machine that we just refill our water instead of having to show jugs of water, but that's what gets put in there.
So the reason that we haven't sitting in it's sort of a lot now it's just that our legal services and it's still ongoing.
This is particularly legal backing, so, there's been issues, certain individuals coming out of the state.
So can I say something on this? This is for our legal services with the Plain County. So we get a bill annually from them and pay it annually, kind of like our assessing, we pay it annually. So that's a completely separate department, I guess, that they put it out that way. So all of our legal fees would be broken by department. So it's like 50304, 50308, I believe, are the two that we have per department.
This was my support.
Yes,
You did go one time over the year.
I believe it's annually. Yeah, I can double check and let you know that already.
It's 1,000.
Yeah, we.
So back up there, it's gonna work. 25 for the year and we're 30%.
We did end up paying April's in March, so 2 months are in that.
So these are donations, so we met with Gerard office. I got on the same coach.
That brings up the question, where we can.
We was to be, should be able to ask if this was gonna be charged to this release level for next year. I said, you know, we don't want to.
That's one of the questions I had when you started looking at this list. And one of the things that was in the check register was $700 for the Legion flag. Now, I'm a Legion member. I'm a vet. I believe that we should be doing that. But can we legally do that for it to be audited?
The way we've done it is it's an expense, not a donation.
Okay. That's my question. Get on there.
But no, like we do have a flag that was donated by the city, but still at the shop. In fact, the Legion installed it.
That fits that one?
Yeah, large flag.
How come we got?
It's been at the shop for years. When the college through and I brought it up and they also donated it to the Legion.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's same on.
Well, I didn't
Yeah.
Can you reach out to the Legion and see if it's letting me still line?
Well, I should, but maybe I should just bring it.
Well, and I guess the next question is, what's the $700 pay for it? Is that our share of each year, or, I mean, how many years does the flag last? It's got a lot of questions. I know every once in a while you'll see where a piece blows off it and then they eventually get so bad they replace it, but is that what that seven, are we doing that? Because it seems like it's every year, it's that $700. I don't know, maybe we need to have a conversation with the Legion about why that was set up and I mean, generally, people want an increase if they, would cost more money, I hope, what flights cost. I mean, that's probably very expensive. I don't know.
So the points of Brockton foundations. The Chamber of Commerce is pretty well tied into us, use them, it use us. It is a very close partnership. As far as this council, I still have trouble with donating money to student funds. I know that there's good things, but I didn't know that I'd be money to some. I'm sure that should be something that's tax dollars are allocated to ours, the people who strongly believe in them, we should donate to them. If they don't enjoy it, then we should use it ourselves to help these guys.
Well, in all fairness to them, when we did have the meeting, I mean, who knows?
So appreciated.
They're very keen, you know.
Like, you it was.
I was having fun. In all fairness, yeah, I mean, he wasn't. But we went through all these, that was the concession we made for this year, was to do the 5,000. Some conversation, but I really say, that's why we had that meeting at the time agreed, and I'm not sure if he was there, Mary Kay, but we agreed to meet again and talk about it. So that's why I was adamant about the dates.
I certainly understand. I think we're looking for a track. Yes, it's got to be. To lots of different organizations.
Well, it was that.
So we're moving in the right direction, but we think city needs to start trying to move away from the financial obligation to just a minute.
Well, I think we all decided, and Elizabeth was going to the auditor that the county fair and the parade and the Freedom Fest are two of the items that are allowable. My concern was up with the flag difference. But the Arts Council, that was one of them that was not supposed to be. So it was recommended. It's a strong recommendation. And that's why we wanted to talk to see where we were at, because they were going to make some adjustments to their budgets.
Just was trying to adjust the person. It sounded like they have potential and hope that they need to.
So that's not what I was talking.
Well, I'm just
Right. But that's not what we had our meeting, that's not what it's got. So I'd rather not say anything until we get together, and I'd like to be a part of that again. Sarah,
Yeah.
whoever was there, we can get scanned, you know, it won't be very paid. He gets to retire, so.
And maybe with this year's round, we can use the faculty to help coordinate what these donations turn into as economic development. Does all of these things that, in my opinion, the county fair, the arts council, and freedom investment, all big economic projects. And sort of return taxpayers fees from that small investment.
Well, it's, we can have our interpretation. It's not, but we are, the auditor is the one that sets the rules, and we don't want to get penalized for trying to. We gotta do things that look good. So,
And what we're doing now is the kind of, I'm not supposed to do that.
that's not according to the state auditor, we should not be given to the person.
No, Arts Council was, these are the ones that are allowed.
The guards come.
Yep, I got the state statute, I got the letter from the state auditor, that's what the auditors gave us, 2 years ago when I came here? And told us we were doing
I
it.
stand corrected. I was thinking that was one.
Not being trying to do it.
I'd have a big way government. I don't know my folks attorney, you know.
My mind's going fuzzy too, but I remember that we works.
It's for years.
Recall. Or even watch, like, about treatment. I think it spends a lot of money. Why does everything cost?
HSA city contributions, that would be annualized as part of. And again, on the insurance question, that's an annualized fee of 31,000. That's annualized. And then the other question I have is that, is there gonna be any sort of credit to the fire budget for admin time that they paid for that they have not seen? Or administrative assistant dollars on each year?
Well, what do you mean? We don't have an admin assistant, so her wages is what would have been broken out to do that stuff. Tabitha is handling that. It's all going to her planning right now. So, I mean, we could fix that with the journal entry and move all that, because she still has been handling fire.
And both of her budget.
So it's in the right spot. That's. Machinery and equipment. What was that? 55,661.97.
The large expenditure is actually the expense for the hoses and down. So. Financial to
Flush that through.
show that that one was kind of weird. We got a grant last year, so it's been a good report. I don't remember how that went. Grant had to be recorded last year and then the expense was this year. Is that right?
We haven't completed the audit for last year, so we'll find out if that's how the auditors want to show it.
We're going to get a little bit of thing between the 2 years.
Do you think we're gonna be receiving any reimbursement for the excavating costs from the homeowners insurance?
That's much very differently by council, because what's always happening before is about 15%. So we ended up, eating that, which was a very, expensive book for that. We're.
However, is this the expense that the homeowners insurance would typically reimburse for?
Typically, it's, I'm trying to see, I'm going to say this, typically they will pay out their fire coverage for fire vehicle effects, the way they get the plans on the insurance company. If they will actually pay that or not. If they deem it more possible, and they will pay that.
I think it merits discussion, if we ever consider whether or not our towers have a policy that's their paying for extra bill, or that will be sent out. It's not something that's used all the time, but when it's used, it's been very effective. As opposed to having 40 people trying to do the same thing. Does also have a cost of and there's a safety component in there that goes along with having equipment to it rather than first. I don't think there's an answer for you yet, but it merits consideration. That makes sense.
I think it makes a lot of sense. But go back to what happened. It was a tragedy and we rely on our chief to make good decisions. I think he made a good decision. Maybe something you look at, see in the future.
Question, right? What happened? There's obviously some differences with the contractor itself, but going forward, it might be something that is worth looking into.
Normally, if it fits within our fee schedule, we'll require, I don't know, maybe this one technically could be movable in there, but our fee schedule says we'll bill the owner for responsible party for a call, the both owners.
I believe the insurance is still gonna be involved though.
They would be
State.
Yeah.
they live up in the state, but, we never build on any of the motor vehicle, single vehicle, motor vehicle action for the county, we build on a home fire rate. If that wants to be changed, I think it's a conflict with from what I can use.
Was that added to a policy or was it just direct verbal direction?
You guys are direction on the fence. Well, in the ordinance actually says we'll build a plan where we
It doesn't address the fatality. So we're not following. ordinance. It's
I don't think we should put that decision in our ordinance, and I think that's an administrative decision.
And just, to be clear, and, for the amount of work that was done, I received, actually, I received a contract, but, contract for one excavator, for the propulsion, they run from more, one from Rush that I've gotten, the whole, and I don't know where I fit it, but the most, probably the average speed would have been about 1/3.
Yes.
So. There'll be a ball sheet, it's in the.
Once Unit 8 in solar, I'm gonna say credit here, credit also.
We would have, it's an asset, so we have to take it in as revenue.
Yeah. Kind of.
Any further follow-up from the fire? Fire and safety.
I got a question for Ed. I know some of your job descriptions changed a little bit as far as code enforcement and stuff like that. Has that affected your budget at all, or your estimation, or?
No. It's, the fees that were set for, we're still doing inspections in the, it's gone way down. I don't know how area expand on their ordinances, which kind of gives that the council more power, so then. And are the fees that are being charged, are they still cost for providing that service?
Yes. We sent it out. Project is complete.
Or. And I thought we were doing this totally different, so I put together a little sheet that tells me how we're doing compared to other years and what I saw.
What's that? No, this is important to me.
All right, can I ask in your, the computer internet GIS support, did you just have to buy a server?
I do.
About that
Yes,
support?
yep.
That's all.
So it's the server and then it's our annual fee for our support from them. So the server was just under $5,000. So the rest would be our support from them. Because otherwise, if you don't pay the annual support, we pay every time we call them. And since we call them very often, it's better for us to pay the annual fee.
Right. I'm glad that you're.
Yeah, and they're done doing whatever they need to do to it. Now we just need to get them to come and install it. But Deb is on vacation right now, and then I leave on Saturday, so it'll be sometime next week or the first part of the week.
So I'm curious, is the computer internet GIS, or is that just kind of a good put together thing that is put in everybody's, or is that?
Yeah.
That I don't think you're using a lot of GIS support.
No, mine is the computer side.
No way to change that in fact, I was just kind of saying it.
We would have to create a new general ledger number and stuff. I mean, I can do that, but just adding another general ledger number to everybody's budget. We can maybe discuss that at budget time.
It's just kind of been on something like so.
I don't know, maybe for parts of, I know the wages that are put in each one for administrative purposes. I just wish that would go. Money's water.
That's new. That came
is-
on board when I came on. It was a big project that all department heads wanted.
I mean,
Why not? Not opposed to that, that's there, I just don't like looking at it, just opposed. I'd rather look at fixed assets, the expenditures, electric bill. Repair bills and stuff.
And then in the repair and maintenance building line, but that's already almost gone.
yeah, I probably, the last thing that I did, I probably should have put it not towards buildings, but towards just repairs and maintenance. Because those two lines, history way back in the day, the building was fixed assets only, so it had to be $5,000 or more. But if it's towards the building, then I've been putting it there, which it probably should go the other way. It probably should go. Because we have way more expenses just in regular repairs and maintenance and barely anything in building. That's why there's $10,000, I think, in regular repairs and maintenance. And stuff that goes there is just dumb stuff, mop heads, just, so that always adds up to be more.
So.
Best part was that our profits or our sales are ahead of our expenses, and typically in the first 3 months of the year, that's not the case. Usually those are usually pretty tight months, and with having not a leap year and also having the Easter holiday in April, I think we did pretty dang good for the first 3 months.
Especially with the trend shifting in the industry as a whole.
Yes.
Like shoot what like 5 parts of the buildings. Now, we say that you all building are we talking this building or all here. So yeah, I just had an arm and working down there, go through the way and stuff on the budget for city hall. So that's, is what it is, it's just a concern, we need to try to offset and plan, I guess, to that. And then, the other part, the $1,500 is landscaping, was that trees, or was that the handrails?
we can look into that.
Yeah. Was that stairway or steps or?
That was last year.
You said it's, yeah. So it says this one wasn't even mentioned. Yeah.
So the 1,500 you're looking at, that's for the ARPA funds. Right? You're looking at the one that's.
Yeah, landscaping and then the drill into the balance. Drill and the tags, took some of it for the trees.
Yeah, because you basically proved that if we could use any ARPA funds from the trees here, we would do that and we were able to move 1,500 and take 1,500 out of the ARPA fund.
Concerns about city hall lines. Steve. Wow, services and knives today. Swimsuits up here. Skating ring. Oh, I had skating rink was the medical internet. Is there possible that we can, this time of year, I'm sure it's not being used much. Yes. Well, maybe not, just because the people sitting outside is using it like we do at the library. Is that? It's like $130 I don't know, but can we put a pause on that, or is it cost us money to get it reinstated, or what? I can look into it. I think if we can get rid of $130, we don't even spend that.
We use it for cannabis. There's no.
That doesn't, that's another issue. We don't even want to use that. What is they go being used for in the skating program?
As of right now, nothing, I don't know if someone would rent it out, it would be nice for them to have, but we might keep their rating. It's for Wi-Fi. Oh, it's not. Yeah, most of the time. It's, if you're looking for using it for as card controls, there are different options, it's like kind of a heavy expensive pay for the entire year, it's probably close for obviously on.
The TV is connected to it.
Yes. I mean, we might be able to seasonally, and be.
If you're seeing, watching television, I guess I'm a little bit confused as to why we're leaving internet. So that would
I'm assuming.
Yeah. So I think there's another possibility, and I don't know what I can get out of the box here, but I can bring it up to the Civic Center board. We have a meeting coming up on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Anybody wants to join? No, they didn't, they had to do that today.
I was telling.
No, that's the old thing. It's different. No, this is the Civic Center. But they have internet there. That is so darn close to this place. I don't know why we couldn't work something out that by. I'm gonna bring it up. Just to ask, and why wouldn't we just use it in building? I mean, it's rocky, and that's what they, they're youth hockey's using it, but maybe there's something we can do there. So I'll put that on my agenda for the next meeting.
Close to the old city fair.
It's fiber that comes down to. I don't know if that's our fiber. Or if that's, that was just Midcoast fiber, data rights. That might be per se. Some of that fiber number.
Thanks, worth.
I don't know if the video recorder on photo.
for, some of the fields that it helps increase trade.
Question about some. What is the city's $11,500 investment in summer rec? How do we- What's wages? Right?
It's our part of the wages. So how Summer Rec first came about, it was a partnership between the townships, the school and the city. And the townships, the school and the city all make a donation or make a funding for the employees to be paid for. All of the equipment and everything else comes from donations from businesses.
Do we know with each urban who's paying what to Berkeley townships and the city, and like, do we know who's paying?
So the city and the school pay the majority. The townships, each one of us that lives in a township that's on the board would go to our township and tell them how many kids are in, from our township is in the program and things like that. And then they make the decision on how much they're going to give towards the programs.
How many kids are involved in the program from the city?
I don't have that at the top, on the top of my head, but yes, it's when they fill out the registration form, they say where they live. If it's in the city, if it's in a township or somewhere else.
If the Ross is out, that's not filled it out, but the off.
Well, and I'll be honest, there's lots of kids that come up and spend time with their grandparents and go to our summer rec. Same with our swimming lessons. I mean, that's a draw to go and visit grandma and grandpa.
T-ball.
Yep.
I have a very unpopular opinion on this, but to me, it feels like we're taxpayers subsidizing daycare. Because that's what some of it is being part of. It's just a daycare. It's a place where people drop their kids off for free. It's somewhat similar to swimming lessons in a lot of ways. That's just a place where parents drop their kids off for free. We're subsidizing. It's the taxpayer dollars. Maybe if you're gonna make the argument that is it right for arts council, especially if it is like in 5 years, because you're going out and you're gonna be buying stuff from the local businesses and patronage. Drive more people to the city, pay a little bit of money, but money is going back into the city. I don't think it's just zero all right. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, you can't just go out to a Walmart and get the sticks to buy something. Fortunately, the Walmart isn't here, or a Quick Trip, all the way to Casey's. So I think we do benefit to an extent. I see your point, but at the same time, we are driving individuals and kids have a tendency to want to get snacks. Toys and need equipment and all that stuff. So if that's all of that stuff is done in house. Where some of them sells their own stuff as a fundraiser for them. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you'd be on the perfect program. I think it's, my kids participated in it a few years ago and had a lot of fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with, we do great studies for this and great studies for that. What's wrong with Park and Rec? I'd love to just give Brock some more. But maybe we need to look at what other people are, why are we inventing the wheel? Maybe the league has some information on Park and Rec and what programs work the best and whatever. Maybe we need to look at that.
I know
Then. No, go ahead.
I know that like this year they're kind of introducing stuff that like we do with disc golf.
I knew they were both.
Trying to get kids outside, get them to experience things that Pine City has to offer. That, try something else different that you normally would.
Well, I think that came out when we were talking about the skateboard park. I remember when that was the rage. I mean, everybody was doing it.
This summer rec city program.
Super community.
It is a nonprofit. It is not through community ed. When it very first started, it was a partnership between the school, the city and the townships. We do have a 501c3. Like Brock said, so when it very first started, a very, very long time ago, it was a feeder program, and it was to introduce kids to sports. So this year, they're doing it as introduce kids to healthier lifestyles, what's going on in Pine City. I mean, getting people off of their devices and off of their butts. And it's gonna be Gaga Ball, you know, and they're gonna be like 2-week, almost like camp type situation. So you don't have to be in tennis 3 days a week for 6 weeks. You don't have to be in golf 2 days a week for 6 weeks. You can, if you're around and you want to do Gaga Ball and you want to learn what Gaga Ball is, this is the 2 weeks you come and this is the time frame you come in. If you want to learn about disc golf, this is the 2 weeks and this is the time frame you come and learn about disc golf. So it's kind of, they're trying something new. They're just, because they don't want it to be a babysitting service. They want it to be a thing to get kids off their devices and get them being healthy, get them outside.
It sounds like a big friend. And they don't understand that point. The red flag that just raises in my mind is if it's a separate nonprofit. We are tracking the wrong area, we should track it different. And that's what we have to have that discussion with the auditor. We allowed to do this, they never realized that, and now I'm thinking that we have to look into this.
I think it got moved there because it always was in the social recreation and whatever programs way back. I think it got switched to where it is now. It's because primarily that money is wages.
It's for service.
It's paid for services. It's paid for wages. It's not paid for the programming.
Services, or providing those services.
We are not, but other people are doing the services that we are paying for. So there's a difference between donating just for them to do their program as compared to a service being provided for it.
Sounds like you brought up the area, so, there's nothing wrong with checking, can we check with the auditor or have you?
We could discuss it again, yeah.
Yeah, this is where they wanted to move to. This is where the auditors wanted it moved to.
This is just the part that doesn't make sense. These responses pointed to the fundraising and paying for the wages that way.
No, they don't pay for the wages that way. The fundraising is all for equipment.
Say if they did.
Oh.
That was your point. If they did, we'll put you guys. Right now, we're putting money towards it to provide a service to the community. We're paying a nonprofit.
For services.
Well, we pay the fair board and snow, so I mean, you can go on and on. As long as we're doing it the right way. And we think we're getting value out of it. I think the kids are getting value out of it. I agree with the argument, get them off their devices because, and I'm sure Adam sees it when he goes through rentals and I see it when I go through rentals. Kids would be locked up in the room with the window and the doors closed and I couldn't understand when it was 80 degrees fire they are playing. But so anything we do to get kids out there and driving things, I think it's important.
I don't think it's our job to get them off their phones. I think it's our job to provide areas that they can decide to get off their phone. It's the parents' job to decide to take away their phone. Oh, wait.
We really don't know.
But I've been involved with the summer rec on a tour of it from a different organization. And we technically fall under the summer rec, but we don't have anything to do with it. Other than we get the insurance for the kids that we use on playgrounds. So, and being involved in the last couple of seasons before that, this is information that, you know, I get from people that work for the event and people that drop their kids off at the event. This isn't me coming up with this. These are words that they're saying. It's free daycare. It's a free place for us to drop our kids. A lot of the kids just, it's a place for them to go. That's what I'm glad to hear that it's trying to steer in a different direction. It's just a large facility.
Well, Mark already answered this question, right? Yeah, Swing Beach. Isn't that what they consider some of that? It's kind of a organized daycare. People drop their kids off, but aren't they supposed to stay there?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
They're supposed to stay there for what?
For them watching their kids swim. They can't just drop them off or swim unless there's a driveway.
Swimming lessons, they sure can. Yes, swimming lessons, once their swimming lesson starts, they've been under our supervision.
Okay.
Because the parents are not involved in swimming lessons at all.
For the sake of the topic, I would ask that we keep this as a discussion point for the future, but we'll move on. I apologize. So. Go ahead.
I did put a note down here to ask the auditors, maybe they could clarify that when they come and do their presentation, maybe explaining it a little more, just because I know that it might be helpful.
Right, next up the playground.
I do want to say that it is 2025 numbers, even though the headings say 2024. We just verified those numbers.
The only question I had is in uniforms. We're gonna have enough money to get all the uniforms for season staff. Yes, we have pretty good supply. That's fine. Then we go for roles. Library. Did we, I know we had discussed at one point, we were gonna talk about library, yeah, somebody else do it. Is that a conversation?
Is it next? Someone will leave to bring it back to you, but it's not. It's in April. And this gonna be. Really up here, some sort of fair, it's going to. I'm very slow. Things.
The would ask, it'd be nice to get some numbers on usage for each year. So, yeah, how many people are actually using the library on a yearly basis. We just still have to be clear unless there's kind of, so it would be nice to see what traffic is. I think that's something that we have to, so.
It's a great idea for once library meeting, which will be that. I think that's a great idea. Asking them how we can stress things.
She loves.
Good job.
And we'll watch to, 6 planning.
That was like,
Yeah, spring is that.
oh, I was just wondering. Take much.
Since we're on kind of before we. Is this the final meeting for sure? Like instead of being this again?
No, Peter, we're.
Oh, they're gonna do that, yes.
I would never say, man, look at this thing, you look at that, not working for me.
Questions I had in planning were the health insurance numbers seemed very large to me. And professional services seemed very large to me. We have plans for we have those big sums of money. Is the health insurance an actual sum for one rate? And what are we gonna do with the $125,000 professional services?
Professional services has building permits. That's where River comes out of there. We haven't received a bill, well, we have not, but
Just received the.
like just received it, yes.
Oh, we keep 100%.
So the health insurance, you had a question on health insurance?
Yeah.
So admin wages are split out. We are all allocated to that. So some of my wages, so some of my health insurance, some of my FICA, some of my para, all that gets split out according to all of our wage allocations.
To each.
To each department that we are allocated to. So like for me, I do a little bit of everything for every department. So a little bit of my wages is allocated to each department. That it's
That's not under the wages, what's like that. That goes
it's
to,
my wages, but I'm trying to say like health insurance is broke down just the same way. Dental is broke down the same way. So like my 10% that goes to fire for my wages, 10% of my dental would go to fire. 10% of my medical would go to each one of them. So
Your percentage is going in the admin side.
What they're saying is because it's.
It's full time and it's just full-time admin.
So there's some not being allocated there.
We gotta admit that this whole thing allocating across the budget.
I feel like.
I know.
I feel like with the planning health insurance, we budgeted for a planning person to have full insurance benefits,
correct.
but she does not take insurance benefits, so I feel like that is why it's so low.
I suspect how that process started with this efforts allocation as far as the fire side, we for the different departments that have to use for it, but I really have a hard time of, I wish the departments just ask for all stuff and fight over here, and they should have administration, and we just go through everything super stupid. It's not
It's recommended by the auditors that we split out this stuff to show where it should be held.
That's great, tell the auditor to come in and explain everything, so I can understand.
But that's done.
Right, small public works, streets.
Do you have a plan for, overlay and sidewalk? This year? So,
Right here. Today I do not. In the past, well, we had, Railroad Street was one of the lines, really. And then, things got moved around, some 44, 14. So, that would be the next on the list, that makes sense. I don't remember what that number was.
Something like,
It's pretty close.
something like that.
All streets. Cemetery.
I think so.
Number six. Throw something in there. Lighten it up. Yeah. Cemetery.
Postage and water, is that an annualized expense? It's in there?
For postage, yes. Well. Once a year for Lisa, when she goes, we do one big check that goes to the postmaster. But there are other additional things that she mails out, like assessment letters or whoever she has to mail letters out, that would be in addition, so.
But like, well, for
I have a question for you. Water tower. Repairs or maintenance. Is that on? I couldn't really, I said repair and maintenance, but that 10,000 doesn't seem like, that's a lot of.
Well, we're working on, like, a program. And that'll be brought forward. I would assume those, be a budget item, but we don't have those numbers yet.
Is that going to go through public work? Maybe, would that be a good idea to talk about it and see if anybody else can? Or is that just something that?
Well, we're gonna investigate on this.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you were getting bail and you guys just had some of it.
No,
Okay.
it's way more.
Okay, well, that's what I'm.
Yeah. So
I never said you weren't good at penciling. I'm just thinking, well,
way
maybe,
deeper than that.
maybe it's a little deeper than that. You made me happy. So,
That's considered water system maintenance. Water tower maintenance would be water system maintenance.
It'll be a larger capital item, you know.
it's in the cap.
It looks, yeah, and we're looking at doing a program with. It may be a whole SCH, but there's other companies out there that do it. Basically, they kind of loan you the money. So they'll do the project and then you pay that cost over 10 years, 20 years. So you can, so it's easier to budget for it.
Well, what's nice too is when, we finance it, that's also our warranty program.
And it's more, yes.
So let's say we do it for 20 years, there was, yeah, no, that's, yes.
Follow up.
Sure. I gotta say, that's a sticky side.
Jokes.
It's not at all. The whole bunch seems to flow downhill. That's a pipe.
You don't chew your fingernails?
Yeah. Y'all are aggressive.
It's great and love that we can just do it for me. This is reminding that I'm usual and it's not. Especially not I'm sick of it.
Certainly thinking Mary's putting on schedule for July and August, especially. I agree with the one here. I agree. One of the things I would like us to consider too is now that we're moving into 26 budget, is potentially having a meeting. That much ahead of time, get public input, if there's anybody. Any public that have ideas of where they would like to see some of the money spent. I like being in front of them.
So just planning ahead, we would like to say that, Thursday, July 24th is the second quarter.
What do we have figured?
And I apologize, I had thought we had the budget, budget, we need a minutes, full shirt and full so. I did not mean this.
I knew when I looked at it, it wasn't be that.
We'll work harder at getting it to us.
Right. Save time here and let's get on to.
Okay.
Well, we're meeting, hopefully for reminders, will be for the last meeting in this building, so we will be also meetings to library for non-holidays and. So I'm sorry, you said. So, over here.
We have a cover.
Make sure.
Yeah, what?
And then you can also do a free public announcement in the papers.
So we had council member concerns, back on 13.1 Dave's fee schedule.
Yeah, I wanted to add this, and we're talking budget, we're talking departments, we're talking all these different things. But we have not approved the fee schedule. Now, we understand we're doing assessments on our sewer, our readings and all our rates and stuff, and that, and we hope to be adjusting those, but I think until that stuff gets done, which won't be done probably till the end of the year, we need to implement the rates that we have so that, because some of the budgets that our department has set, the rates are tied into that, and we're not doing them justice by not getting this fee schedule passed. So I'd like to see everything but passed. If there's a reason not to pass it.
Yeah.
Next up, sorry.
Yeah, there was. Well, it's okay, it's okay. The bottom line is, when is that gonna happen? I mean, are we waiting for the next ordinance? I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, is that what the
I
side
believe it's on the whole business of the next ordinance meeting, there was a couple things I was gonna look at.
Okay, then we can get Brendan after that. I can see the month, I guess, no problem with that, but I'd love to see it pass. So I appreciate the hard work.
Maybe second meeting.
Well, ordinance is May 5, and council is 7. We could very well, if we can have, so let's try.
Let's try for that. I agree that we can see that and be able to put it in place. You're right, it needs to be.
Yeah.
So the entire management of the city is in this room right now for 3 hours in the day during normal business hours, which I feel like is a huge waste of time for people that want to interact with the city, for our employees. I'm sure that they've all enjoyed running their departments off of their cell phone. Not even up the side odds of what the council's talking about. This goes back to the fact that I don't think meetings should be during the day. It seems like all our action plan, pack things are for discussions, we're still making actions and discussions during our daytime, one of them goes for 3 hours. None of the public can be here. I've gotten tons of complaints that people want to be here to listen to going on. The argument was that the ordinance is set at the end of the year for a future council. This council being shifted by this council. So the fact that we're saying that, so. But at my request, I asked that we shift the council meetings to it. That came back to an ordinance. So I think we should look at moving the ordinance, we should get this meeting into the evening meetings because it does not make sense to have it during business hours for people that want to hear and participate or for our employees that should be running their departments right now, answering phone calls, and back on. We'll have questions and concerns.
What about the department heads? I mean, we play the hand here. Would they want to come and spend 3.5 hours on the second meeting of the night during the, and how did they get that time back? I mean, if they are able to get it back, I don't have a problem with it, but they have lives too. And so it was started, the daytime was started for a reason, and it's supposed to have been the business meeting. What's happened is we put other things into it, that's.
Does the county have local meetings for the day? Works.
As long as I've been.
Wow.
They have between staffs here, right?
You know, my problem, first meeting, the conference and finance meeting, second meeting, both days. Okay, so you said they have. Well, they're 10 a.m.
What time of the day?
10.
Yeah, then we start something.
Every department had meeting here today, so it's working, it's bigger budget, but however, I feel like if they are not on the agenda, then the council would question, we ask before the meeting and then be allowed to be in their job. They're not on the agenda.
We never heard anything from Melanie, we didn't get the grill her about it.
Go what?
I thought you did 2 minutes.
This does not make sense to have meetings during the day. It's a long time for employees, it's a long time to tie up resources. This time to go back to daytime meetings. And I feel like we're only having daytime meetings because we want less participants from our citizens because we're doing daytime operations.
And it's, the reason we couldn't change it when you wanted to change it before wasn't it for this.
And again, currently the ordinance and they be.
So I don't, that's,
So.
for obligations. I personally, I think it's different for each of us. It doesn't matter. But it does matter to you guys that are out there. So I'm just sucking off society. Like, here.
It's getting harder and harder to.
It's hard for you guys.
Yeah, because especially for me personally, my committees and council all fall on the same week. One of them's at 8:30, one of them's at 5:30, it's at 10 in the morning. It's a relatively hard structure for me to try to do what I need to do for my job and do this job at the same time. That's just. seems like it limits who can join council. This one, based on. But I do understand there's not a council member here that against it, but. You know,
I think there's other factors, when you start talking about that, who would join council. I mean, I pushed real hard, it's like, we're getting back in on a couple of things that were kicked out for really dumb reasons as far as business. And I don't need the money. But the problem is, you get somebody that doesn't have income or the wherewithal to afford to do this job. We sit there and anybody that doesn't think that this isn't a costly venture, they're wrong, because that $250 minus taxes that we get every month do not even scratch the surface of what we're putting out financially. And if we want to get other people involved, yeah, your point is well taken. But I still think we need to, as a council, we going to, and we can't change it unless it's an election year, so I know that. But we need to really look at that in 2 years from now, what we're doing to encourage people to want to do this job. And I didn't join this, I didn't even know they got paid. I know we are, I know you want to go out here. This is a plan snaps.
My ask, I didn't get this discussion, but my ask is that the ordinance looks at changing this so that new council can set the meeting schedule on it. I think that this needs to be added to the agenda for the vote by the council. They have it voted on by the council, because if you can change those newly, and change it. She said, at the beginning of the year, not by the council. And the other thing is, change council meetings to fit our needs that the council has in the building. Doesn't make sense. That's what that's my point on meeting schedules. 13.3 just came to my attention. Vehicle and vehicle policies for emergency services. Apparently it's set up for the fire chief, public works, on-call employee. That's what vehicle policies for work to take home. That's for emergency response. It would be that both of you are proud set up the equipment and the trucks to be able to respond to emergencies. Know that other vehicles we can take from them as a policy. I don't think that should be going on. You want the policy review, apparently this, the on-call or the people that are taking their vehicles home can live within 20-mile radius of a city, which is almost Willoughby, Sandstone, Vancouver, and down in North Ridge. And that's a 35-minute drive in some respects. That is an emergency. The two individuals that are running right now from the end of the table, I'm guessing probably respond to the south end of the city in 8 minutes from home, 6 minutes. That makes a lot of sense for emergency response. 20-mile radius does not make sense in my emergency response. So I would like the policy looked at, and I would like to follow through on the policy, and we would like to discuss. Take all vehicles in the future meeting, but I'd like to see it on an agenda. So moved. Do I hear a second? Second.
Right.